Good morning and welcome to the 127th annual meeting of the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce. It's so exciting to see another huge crowd here today for this event. So, at this time, if you would, please stand for our invocation by Reverend Suzanne Smitherman of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, and remain standing for the national anthem by Jermaine Purifory, who was a contestant on American Idol a few years ago. He is also a Lee alumni from the Voices of Lee University.
Please stand as we pray. Most gracious God, we gather today in thanksgiving for your many gifts and in prayer for the right use of them. We thank you first for our heritage of leaders who generously gave creative energy, time, and resources to transform this city in recent years to be a model of industry, business, beauty, and culture. Give us vision to continue to work to make this city a better place for us and for those who come after us. We thank you for the heritage of those who walked this land long before the ancestors of most of us here, who in their wisdom and forbearance held a standard of weighing each decision in light of its long impact on their descendants, even to the seventh generation. Give us such wisdom. In a world with too much danger, violence, and distrust, help us to love and care for one another here. Give us discerning eyes that see differences in our neighbors as a wealth of diversity in your many-patterned world. Give us listening ears to hear the voices of all who bring their lives and perspectives to our conversations, so that we continue in the heritage of this city as a model of care, compassion, and conversation. Help us to work together to make this city a place of safety for all of God's children who seek to grow here into our next generation of leaders, who learn to speak your truth with boldness and minister your justice with compassion. We pray for peace in the world and for protection of those who long for it. Guard and guide the innocent from those who spread hatred and violence in your name. May hearts and minds be turned to know the God of the universe to be the God of peace and love. We thank you for Bob Corker, a man of God, who continues his commitment to serving you in Washington as he keeps the people of Chattanooga close to him. Please hold him in your care and inspire the work you've given him to do. We thank you for Andy Burke, a man of God, who brings his vision and energy for a better tomorrow in this city we love. Please hold him in your care and inspire the work you've given him to do. We pray for other people of God, for Ron Har and all on this chamber, and those who work with them, for all who serve this city as guardians of safety and justice. Please hold them in your care and inspire the work you've given them to do. Dear God, we know this is a lot to ask, but these are our hopes and dreams, and we need your help. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, grant us your peace. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallant
Thank you, Reverend Smitherman, for that inspiring prayer. And thank you, Jermaine. I can see why you were a contestant on American Idol and making Chattanooga known around the world. So we'll give you a few minutes to meet your table mates, get started on your lunch, and we'll be back to start the program in just a few moments. Good morning again. I hate to interrupt all this great conversation, but I'd like to if I can. We don't have these events without great sponsors, and so I want to start today's meeting by recognizing our sponsors. Of course, their support made it possible. I hope they'll be on the screen as I speak. Our platinum sponsors are EPB, Nova Copy, Sandler Training, and VW Chattanooga. Our gold sponsors are Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, Sound Force, and Unum. Our silver sponsors are Chambliss, Bonner, and Stoffel, the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport Authority, Chattanooga Technology Council, Chatham Incorporated, Cohutta Banking Company, DeCosimo Certified Public Accountants, Henderson, Hutcherson & McCullough, PLLC, Lattimore, Black, Morgan & Kane, Malden & Jenkins, LLC, SunTrust Bank, Tandis Centtiva, Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union. And our media sponsors who help us get out the word and fill up this room for every meeting: Brewer Media, Cat Country 95.3, the Chattanooga Times Free Press, Clear Channel Media and Entertainment US 101, CMC Publications Cityscope Magazine, Coffee News, Cumulus Media Chattanooga 107.9 Big FM, Fairway Outdoor, Partners for Christian Media J103, The Pulse, WDEF FM Sunny 92.3, WDCI Fox 61, WRCB TV Channel 3 Eyewitness News, WSMC Classical 90.5, WTCI TV PBS, WTVC News Channel 9, and YP. Please join me in giving them a round of applause for sponsoring the event today. Wow, I need to do this up front. I want to apologize to anybody who we messed up about your seating. We had another sellout, and we had people calling in this morning, and we did everything we could to put 50 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag, and we are really happy you're here. And if you got seated somewhere you weren't expecting, I apologize, but we're very glad you're here and glad to have another sellout event for the Chamber. It's been another tremendous year, as most of you know, because you're at all of our events. And we're going to be talking today about those accomplishments and everything that you've helped us with your volunteerism and your investment. As I prepare to retire on October 10th, I want you to know that I'm leaving the Chamber in excellent hands. Howard Levine and other members of the Chamber Transition Committee exceeded the mark in hiring Bill Kilbride as the Chamber's new president and CEO. And he's with us here today, and you'll be hearing more about that in a minute. But I'm content myself to say, from what I know, that Bill offers a rare mix of business experience and people-oriented leadership. I think you'll hear that all over Chattanooga. And I can't imagine anyone better equipped to take the Chamber to the next level. So, with that in mind, I've been focused on helping him prepare to take the helm and do everything I can to tie up loose ends and have everything running as well as it can as I depart. That's why I'm pleased to announce that over the last year, we've reached some major milestones, both in terms of job creation and membership in the Chamber. On July 15th, 6 years to the day after Volkswagen announced its original investment in Chattanooga, we received the wonderful news that Volkswagen Chattanooga will expand to produce their new midsize SUV, adding 2,000 new jobs. Please join me once again in thanking Volkswagen for reaffirming their partnership with Chattanooga. And words are not strong enough to express our appreciation to Senator Corker, Governor Haslam, Mayor Coppinger, and Mayor Burke for their leadership and personal engagement in winning the Volkswagen expansion. We'll hear from the senators and our mayors later in the program, but I just can't touch on that news without emphasizing the critical role that each of them played in this effort. And please, I want everybody associated with the Chamber, make no mistake, the Volkswagen project was competitive. The Chamber was proud to work alongside our elected officials to work on the project as community-wide economic development organization, but it would not have just happened, and I think there are a lot of people in Chattanooga who thought it was a done deal and a given. It was not, and it was a huge win for our city, and we're so excited about Volkswagen's future here. As the fiscal year ended in June, we were very close to meeting all of our job creation goals. And yes, there they are on the screen. As you know, the Chamber manages itself on some very strict goals that we can define and measure, and we take that very seriously. The gauges on the screen reflect our progress as they were reported in the annual report, which closed out at the end of June. With 2 weeks after the fiscal year ending, Volkswagen's announcement came, and that smashed through all of our creation goals except for one, and we still have about 10 months left in our measurement period. So with that great news and with all the other great news that's occurred here, we know for the first time in the Chamber's history, we're going to meet all of our job creation goals, and we're very, very excited about that. And I hope that you got to see those gauges change. We kind of enjoyed the automotive theme there where the tachometer breaks through the glass, and that's been a lot of fun to see. Our elected officials played a major role in this success, as I've mentioned, but as you know, the public-private partnership is the key ingredient in Chattanooga's success story. The Chamber's private sector Chattanooga Can-Do investors provide 60% of our economic development funding, and in the annual reports on your table, you'll find the Can-Do investors listed on page 11. At this time, I invite all the representatives of those companies that fund our economic development efforts to please stand and be recognized for your tremendous support. Thank you all. It's one of the great things about our community. And I have to take a personal moment here and thank Charles Wood and the Chamber's Economic Development team. Charles, if you would, please stand. I saw you down here up front. Although the Volkswagen project was the big mega project of the year, this team at the Chamber, their tongues have been hanging out as they finalized a string of major existing industry expansions and recruitment projects. And I hope you recognize these names now: Mahindra, Coca-Cola Bottling, and Plastic Omnium. Charles and his team are working an extremely large and active pipeline of prospect companies for Chattanooga. Our future is very bright. And then just recently, if there's anybody in town who hadn't heard this, you must have been on a long vacation. When I came to the Chamber 2.5 years ago, I made a commitment that we were going to break every dish in the convention center and that we were going to enhance our membership outreach. And to that end, we set a goal of growing the Chamber's total membership to 2,014 members by December of 2014. And it was a stretch goal, and I've got to be honest with you, I really didn't think we were going to get there. Chambers are having a hard time reaching these goals around the country in the environment that we operate in. By the end of July, though, Sandra Brewer, our Vice President of Member Investor Services, Sandra, please stand. I know you're here. I saw you a minute ago. She had led her team in bringing in a total number of our members to an all-time high, but we were still well short of the goal I just mentioned. Well, a couple weeks ago, more than 450 volunteers joined us at the Chattanooga Theater Center for a 3-day campaign unlike anything we've ever done before, in many ways, I might add. I think all of them will agree they worked hard, had a lot of fun, and in large part to a fast-talking zoot suit-wearing guy, Italian guy named Jimmy, whose picture is there on the screen. So, drum roll, please. At this time, I'm going to announce a number of people associated with the drive, and please hold your applause till the end. First, I'd like to invite Roy Vaughn and Allison Lebowitz to come up on the stage. Jimmy dubbed these two community leaders as the godfather and godmother of our membership drive. And I have a present for you.
Is it a ring?
Thank you all. Now wait a minute, you were supposed to hold your applause, but that's all right, they deserve it. And then I'd like to ask our good fellows, the top performers, to please stand at your table. And finally, I'd like to invite all of the other Your Chamber Connections volunteers to stand and remain standing. There were 450 people at the Theater Center, and I'm sure many of them are with us today. Thank you all. So here's the drum roll part. Together with our godparents, good fellows, top performers, all of these things that Jimmy called out, these volunteers helped us add 451 new members to the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce in just 3 days, bringing our total membership today to a historic high, the biggest number this has ever been in the history of our city, 2,246 members of the Chattanooga Chamber. Then, on a maybe not so happy note, but it's good for Jed, and we're happy about this, but Jed Marston will be leaving the Chamber in a few weeks to join the EPB team. And it's very fitting because of all the great things that Jed has done for our city and region, but also has done so much to assist EPB with the promotion of the gig and the many exciting things going on there. So he's going to work for EPB and leaving the Chamber after 12 years, and I wanted to take a moment today and ask all of you to think about what Jed has accomplished over the last 12 years. Probably more than almost anybody else in town, he has worked tirelessly over 12 years to help bring the Chattanooga Can Do brand to the rest of the world. And for those of you that know how these things are measured, we've been measuring how many impressions that we have made around the world through his efforts. And right before this meeting, we totaled it up, and over his career, Jed has led an unbelievable 1.2 billion impressions of the word Chattanooga in worldwide audiences in positive, business-oriented stories about our city. You've been seeing them for years. Most of you have no idea how all that happens. But when Fortune magazine has a story, or CNBC comes here to run tape and make tape about our city, many times Jed was at the heart of that. He was an original member of the Volkswagen recruitment team and won some great awards for the way that they communicated that to Volkswagen. And he's helped us grow all of our major events like this one to 1,100 people or more at every event. So please join me in thanking Jed for all of his great work at the Chamber. Jed, please stand up. Now, at this point in the program, I would normally introduce our outgoing board chair, Howard Levine. But as probably many of you know, unfortunately, the scheduling of a medical procedure prevented him from being here. But we found out about this early enough that we could make a pre-recorded video. Howard has been a mainstay at the Chamber for many years. All of you who've been around the Chamber a long time have worked with Howard because of many years he's given us of steady leadership. And he expected this year to be a relatively quiet year at the board level. And I feel really bad that I threw him a curveball about announcing my retirement before his year was over. And I think he will allude to that in the tape. But he did a great job of help lining up Bill Kilbride to succeed me. So even though he can't be with us today, I'm going to visit him. I've talked to him this morning. He's doing very well. And I'm going to take him his gift that we've given him. And I think you're really going to enjoy if you would turn your attention to the screen for a few words from our immediate past board chair, Howard Levine.
Is that thing on?
Yes.
Where am I supposed to be looking?
Right over there.
Oh. Is that where Senator Corker is going to be sitting? I want to make it seem like I'm looking right at him. Hi, I'm Howard Levine. I've had the distinct honor of serving as the Chamber Board Chairman over the last year. I regret that I can't be with you in person, but my doctors, and more importantly, my wife, had other ideas. But then Jed Marston saved the day when he told me that I could just pre-record this message. I was concerned that this would be a little awkward, but then I started thinking about the many times I've had to sit through a video speech by Senator Corker. So Bob, I guess it's your turn now. So what happens if Corker cancels at the last minute and he also sends in a video speech? The most amazing things about the Chamber is that thousands of people contribute to our organizational achievements each year. In particular, I want to thank the board members who served with me over the past year and the very competent professional staff who are the ones who really make things work at the Chamber. I want to particularly thank and acknowledge Ron Haar, even though I haven't quite forgiven him for announcing his retirement before the end of my term as board chair. Joking aside, I have thoroughly enjoyed working with Ron, not only during the past year, but over the past few years. In particular, I appreciate his infectious enthusiasm for the Chamber's mission and his unstinting optimism about Chattanooga's future. He has ensured that the Chamber provides outstanding value to the city, to the county, to our elected officials, and to all of our members. Under Ron's leadership, the Chamber has grown in membership and relevance to our community. He also served as the glue for the Chamber's efforts as it contributed to the successful VW expansion project and reached all but one of our job creation goals a year ahead of schedule. I could say much more about Ron, but I'll leave it at that, since we're not really saying goodbye to Ron until October, when Bill Kilbride, his successor, takes over. Speaking of job creation, I also want to thank and recognize Charles Wood. He is our quiet expert, a consummate professional who has shown his tremendous ability to work with prospect companies ranging from Volkswagen and Plastic Omnium to Coca-Cola Bottling and Mahindra. Much of his work is necessarily confidential, so we don't hear a lot from him, but he gets the job done in cooperation with our elected officials and other partners. If you have a chance after lunch, please thank him for the professionalism he has shown. I also invite you to join me in thanking and saying a fond farewell to Jed Marston. For 12 years, he's taken the lead in communicating about the Chamber's numerous and complex efforts. He's also done a great job of helping volunteer leaders like me communicate about the Chamber. We will miss his writing ability and his understanding of how to convey the Chattanooga brand, but fortunately, for us, he is staying in Chattanooga, and I have a feeling he'll start showing up on the Chamber's volunteer roster soon after he starts his new job in September. Even though I'm not with you to physically pass the gavel, I am confident that the Chamber is in good hands with Michael Mathis as your board chair. He is dedicated to the Chamber's mission and has a long-standing record of pitching in on a range of assignments and offering the Chamber outstanding leadership. Congratulations and good luck, Michael, in taking over. I do, however, want to dispel the rumor about Michael arranging the timing of the VW announcement. After a whole year with the Chamber, working diligently on the Volkswagen expansion under my chairmanship, I have to believe that it's purely coincidental that they finally made their announcement 2 weeks after Michael took over. Lastly, I want to extend my appreciation to Senator Corker. The worst part about having to pre-record this message is that I don't have the privilege of physically sharing the podium with him. Senator Corker has been a transformative leader for this community. He is the kind of leader who makes things happen and gets things done, whether he's in Chattanooga, Washington, or Afghanistan. I consider Bob to be a good friend. He's also my neighbor and my landlord. In fact, I'm hoping that he can take some time during the legislative recess to come over to the volunteer building and fix the leaky faucet in the men's room. But seriously, folks, I hope you will wish Senator Corker well as he plans to celebrate his 62nd birthday on Friday. As many of you know, the price of admission to attend this birthday party is always equal to his age in dollars. I've already sent in my $62 and hope to attend. I certainly wish Bob many, many more birthdays in the future, but Bob, the cost of these birthday parties is starting to add up. Before I end, I can't resist having over 1,000 people join me in singing Happy Birthday to Bob. Here's how it works. I'm going to start singing in a minute with the help of Ron, who will conduct the singing. We will sing Happy Birthday to Bob. I have to warn you that I'm not a good singer, but I've asked the audio-visual guys to turn down my voice so Bob can hear this great crowd sing to him. Okay, on the count of 3, we'll sing Happy Birthday to Bob. Now, Ron, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Bob, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Bob. Thanks to you all.
Well, it worked out pretty well considering you couldn't be here in person. So thanks to Howard for being a good sport and helping us for the last year. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our current board chair, Michael Mathis. Michael is a longtime board member and supporter of the Chamber. I've worked with him on a volunteer basis for years, and he's a very energetic and thoughtful person who has already demonstrated a very hands-on approach to leadership at the Chamber. He was with us every day during the membership campaign and has already participated in activities related to our councils and other Chamber initiatives. Please join me in welcoming Michael Mathis to the stage.
Thank you, Ron. Once again, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to follow Howard. Every time I step up to the microphone, Howard's just giving a real funny speech. This time he's not here, so I don't really know if it'd be appropriate for me to make fun of him. So I'll really just move on, thank him for his friendship, his leadership, and wish him well and a speedy recovery. Ron, you're truly doing a fantastic job leading the Chamber, as our record-setting accomplishments would attest. I've been so impressed with how you've kept the momentum going and you kept driving the Chamber forward in spite of your pending retirement. Let's give Ron a well-deserved round of applause. He will sorely be missed. During my year as board chair, I'm committed to focusing on what I consider to be the most important asset of the Chamber, people. From members to our councils, to our ambassadors, to our amazing staff, I believe the Chattanooga Chamber is among the best in the country because of all of us work passionately together to accomplish our shared mission. From this perspective, I have a strong appreciation for our Chamber councils. Starting on page 5 of the annual report, you'll find some information about what these outstanding Chamber volunteers have accomplished over the last year, with over 6,400 hours of volunteer time. As I call the names of the Chamber councils, I ask that the members affiliated with that group please stand up and remain standing. The Downtown Council, the East Brainerd Council, the East Ridge Council, the Enterprise Gateway Council, the Hickson Council, the International Council, Midtown Council, North Chattanooga Council, North Hamilton County Council, Red Bank Council, Southside Council. And last but certainly not least is the Ooltewah-Collegedale Council, which recruited 18 new Chamber members this year, the most new members of any council. Please join me in recognizing all of our councils. As I say, all of our councils deserve recognition, so it was an honor to join a blue ribbon panel of judges in choosing the 2014 Council of the Year. In addition to myself, this year's judges were Ronell Sellers, Mike Sarvis, Joan Rose, Joel Henderson, Bill Kilbride, Mike Costa, Mike Harrell. We were blown away by the amazing grassroots efforts our Chamber councils are driving all over our town. It was extremely difficult to choose the Council of the Year, but I'm so pleased to announce that our 2014 Council of the Year is the East Brainerd Council. I invite their immediate past president, David Ray, to come to the stage. While he makes his way forward, I will highlight some of the East Brainerd Council's achievements for the year. They partnered with UTC to complete a comprehensive traffic study of the Gun Barrel Road area, and we all know that's sorely needed. They established a high-level advisory board of executives from key businesses and stakeholders in the council's footprint. They did a great job with retention, ensuring council board supported ribbon cuttings in their area, along with direct mail campaigns to new and first-year members, encouraging council involvement. David, thank you. Thank you, the members of the East Brainerd Council. Please join me in applauding. Thank you, David. As we all know, the strength of any network depends not only on the number, but also on the quality of its connections. That's why diversity and inclusiveness are so important. Maria Knoll, who does a fantastic job leading the Chamber's African American Business Development Program, works hard every day to increase Chamber membership and participation among African Americans and other minorities. In that effort, Hamilton County and the City of Chattanooga are two of our closest partners. You'll find many highlights from this program on page 17 of the annual report. In the past year, Maria's efforts have assisted African American firms in securing $380,000 in additional revenue. Because Chattanooga only achieves its full economic potential when all of its citizens are able to achieve their full economic potential, I encourage you to please join me for Diversify 2015 next June. This event is designed to promote interaction, meaningful interaction between all of our member businesses. Finally, I have the honor of introducing the Chamber's incoming President and CEO effective October 13th. As you'll see from his bio in the annual report, Bill Kilbride has truly an extraordinary body of experience, including roles in banking, finance, the New York Stock Exchange, and for the last 20 years, a key member of Mohawk Industries. Better still, as good as Bill looks on paper, he is even more impressive when you get to know him as a person. The Chattanooga Chamber, we're adding to the total. The Chattanooga Chamber is lucky to have Bill Kilbride. Please join me in welcoming Bill to the stage.
Thank you, Michael. I eagerly look forward to working with Michael and the board and the chamber members next year. Thanks also to Howard Levine. Howard showed me how much patience he really has and the skill that he's always possessed that we know about in bringing me here to this place today. And I'm grateful for that. Most of all, I want to express my appreciation to Ron Haar. Ron has achieved through his direction the major milestones related both to membership and to job creation that he spoke of earlier. Ron, you're providing me with a great starting point. I also appreciate the time you're giving me during this transition period. A lot of people have been asking me what's next for the Chamber, and achieving my answer is simple. We're going to start by following the mission statement as it is today, and that means, number one, championing our member businesses today, and number two, promoting regional economic growth. On the membership front, we're going to redouble our efforts to communicate value and maintain our roster of members at the current level. That's why I'm pleased to celebrate a group of chamber volunteers who play a critical role in our member relations. Our more than 100 ambassadors contact companies every day to help them understand the full benefit of chamber membership. As I ask the following people to stand, please hold your applause so we can recognize them all together. First, I ask Pat Meharry of High Ground Solutions to stand and remain standing. Pat's down here with us. Pat is our Chamber Ambassador of the Year. In the 2 years since he joined the Chamber Ambassadors, he has contacted hundreds of chamber members to communicate the value. Pat is also serving as president of the North Hamilton County Council this year. Next, I invite David Hamilton of Samtec Waste Services to stand. David? David became a Diamond Level ambassador this year. He's only the 4th ambassador in chamber history to be able to do that. Finally, I ask all of our ambassadors to stand, if you will. To Pat and David and all of our ambassadors, please accept our sincere appreciation for all of your outstanding effort. Let's give them a round of applause. Delivering member value is part of the Chamber's formula for success. The other part is enlarging the local economic pie. Since 2002, our Chattanooga Can-Do investors have supported the Chamber with the funding necessary to deliver the impressive economic developments results that Ron mentioned just minutes ago. As many of you know, our current 4-year cycle ends in June of 2015. Even though we've already reached almost all of the goals for this period, I'll be working with Charles to push our margin above the goal as much as possible over the next 10 months. As business leaders, you know that a company stops growing when its selling starts failing. By the same token, as a community, we must continually raise the bar on our job creation efforts. That's why I'm pleased to announce today that we're kicking off the Chattanooga Can-Do 2015-2019 and want to announce our campaign co-chairs. As I call your name, please stand and be recognized. Harold DePriest. I think Harold had a conflict. Mitch Patel from Vision Hospitality, same. Keith Sanford from First Tennessee, and Tom White from Unum. All 4 of these volunteers have been engaged in the Chamber's economic development for many years. As long as I've been in business, I've never had such an easy time persuading 4 extremely busy executives to say yes. As our Chattanooga Can-Do co-chairs, they'll provide us with the volunteer leadership that we need to meet our financial goal. Please join me in expressing our effort to them for taking the lead on this critical effort. This year and in the years to come, we have an opportunity to increase our local automotive supply chain and further cement the Chattanooga's reputation as the center of the automotive South. At the same time, the Chamber will be working to ensure that Chattanooga remains strong across a variety of industry sectors. That means continuing to expand existing industries and recruiting new companies as well. In particular, we'll be focusing on office operations and entrepreneurial ventures. Lastly, for many years, I lived in Chattanooga, but I worked in North Georgia. So I left in the dark, and I came home in the dark. I believe one of our best opportunities is to come together across the region on issues such as economic development, education, outdoor assets, and transportation. That's why I'm very pleased with the Chamber's involvement in the Thrive 2055 initiative and that strategic planning process. Ultimately, I believe we must cooperate across the region so that we can compete globally. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to working with you in the months and years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. And now it's my great pleasure, as it has been many times over the last 2.5 years, to introduce our 2 mayors. We have kind of a running joke inside the chamber about how we're going to decide who goes first. And we used to flip a coin, and we decided even that wasn't fair enough. So now we're keeping records, and we alternate just so we make sure. But I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, it has been so much fun to work with these 2 gentlemen, and especially with the way they work with each other, and that the 3 of us and this entire community can work together to get things done here. It's been a real joy, and once again, I want to thank them for the way that they go about their daily business. I also want to say we've got other elected officials in the audience, and what we do at the Chamber would not happen without their support. And other than the ones you're going to hear from, I want to recognize from the County Commission, Chester Bankston, Jim Fields, Joe Graham, Marty Haynes, and Warren Mackey, who are with us today. And then from the City Council, we have Chairman Chip Henderson, Chris Anderson, Larry Groen, Yusuf Hakim, Jerry Mitchell, and Ken Smith. Let's give them a round of applause for what they do for our community. So at this time, I'm going to call Mayor Coppinger to the stage to give us some remarks, and then he'll be followed by Mayor Burke.
Well, it's afternoon now, so good afternoon. It surely is good to look at this crowd. It's amazing how the chamber turns out these large crowds, and I know a lot of that's due to Senator Corker's appearance, and I know you're interested in hearing what he's got to say, so I promise to keep my comments brief, but I do want to say congratulations to the chamber for this year's success, and I would be remiss not to say a special thank you to Ron Harr and to Jed Marston for their service, since they're going to be moving on soon. And Ron, we will miss I'm sure that Mayor Burke and I will both miss your late night calls and your early morning calls from you and Charles Wood when you're talking to us about economic development, but congratulations on moving forward. I also want to congratulate Bill Kilbride for being selected as the incoming president and the CEO of the chamber, and really look forward to your leadership and also the continued success of our chamber. You know, Hamilton County is extremely proud of the partnership that we share with the Chamber of Commerce. It brings new jobs, it helps us with the expansion of businesses and creates opportunities here in Hamilton County for new entrepreneurs. During the last 12 months, you've heard some numbers thrown around, but just in the last 12 months, we've been able to create, working together with the Chamber, 4,000 new jobs here in Hamilton County. And that's something that all of us should be extremely proud of. You've heard the mention of the expansion of Volkswagen. We're really proud of that, but we're also extremely excited about the expansion of Chatham, expansion of Coca-Cola bottling here recently, and also the anticipated expansion of McKee Foods. So to all of these companies, we're very grateful. And these jobs that are created, I want to make sure everyone really understands how this works. It is a cooperative partnership between the local, the state, and the federal governments at all levels, but obviously a major role is played by the private sector. So we applaud everyone that's involved in making this happen. And I do want to mention, while we're on the discussion about partnerships, you hear this said from time to time, I want to mention my working relationship with Mayor Andy Burke and what that means to me personally and as a community. Mayor Burke and I truly do have a good partnership, and I wholeheartedly believe the overwhelming people in this county want that, expect that, and proud to be able to say that we do have that relationship. Also have that great working relationship with our county commission. One of the persons that was left out was our newly elected Randy Fairbanks has been elected to the county commission, and I don't believe Sabrina Turner is here, but Randy was here. So Randy, welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you as well. And I do want to mention, I saw we forget about our school board members, but one of the most important things we do in public education in Hamilton County government is public education. And I didn't hear any school board names mentioned, but I do know that Dr. Greg Martin is here with us today as well. So appreciate your interest in being here as well. I want to say to the businesses, thank you. Thank you for what you do each and every day as you get up and you help to make Hamilton County the success that it is. And also as you enhance the quality of life throughout all of Hamilton County by what you do. We appreciate all of the businesses in Hamilton County. There's more than 8,500 businesses that are currently in Hamilton County that choose to invest in our community, and we're very grateful for that. We know you have other choices, but it's important that we, along with the Chamber, are staying at your doorsteps every day when we hear about your expanding or the possibility that you may choose to go elsewhere. So whether you are a large industry or a small business, or if you're a company that's based here in Hamilton County or just one that does business in Hamilton County, know that every one of you are vital to our success that we are experiencing. We applaud you for your investments and your commitments in creating jobs, whether it's by, as you heard Bill mention, whether it's creating new jobs or whether it's expanding your existing business. We applaud all of these. And I once again, and I know many of you in this crowd have heard me mention this time and time again, but I don't think I could emphasize it enough. So I once again want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the partnership that the county government has with the Chamber at the Business Development Center, and how important that is as we continue to grow that incubator, which is one of the best in the country. There's currently 75 businesses that are housed there, and out of with those 75 businesses, we're employing 400 people in this county. 43% of those, if you've heard me say, are either minority or women-owned, which is really important. It shows the diversity of our county. I also should add that 30% of those businesses now are high-tech companies, and we've heard about their successes. And I want to thank, I don't know if Catherine Foster is here or not, but she is the individual that manages this facility on a day-to-day basis, and we certainly appreciate Catherine's hard work over there to keep everybody in a cooperative spirit, if you will. We will continue, and we're proud of the partnerships we have with the City of Chattanooga, the State of Tennessee, and certainly the Area Chamber of Commerce, helping us to do what all of us want to see, which is to sustain the economic development momentum that we have here in this county. We must continue to successfully recruit, and I'm confident that that's something we will be able to do. Job creation, as you've heard, and capital investments in our county remain a priority, as does education. It's extremely important that we have the ability to provide the workforce for the existing companies and new businesses that will be coming here. You'll hear us talk a lot about education and the importance of our workforce. It is critical for us to be able to prepare our students for 21st century jobs. And the role that the Chamber has played in this and has taken up to this point is to be applauded. There's several educational programs they've been involved with. It has been a great year for the partnership, and I believe that next year will be even better. Now, allow me to introduce my friend, my partner, and your City of Chattanooga Mayor, Andy Burke.
Thank you, Mayor Coppinger. It's great to be here today. You know, Ron always makes a deal over whether Mayor Coppinger or I goes first, and I think he tries to keep us on our toes. So I noticed today that even though Mayor Coppinger went first, that he put that I was going first on the program. I guess this is just a way to keep mixing things up so that everybody can have some fun with this exchange. It's really great to be here today, and certainly to be here as Ron exits out and Bill comes in. As Mayor Coppinger talked about, he and I have an incredibly close relationship. We talk virtually every day, and particularly about economic development deals. It's really critical that he and I be on the same page, because these companies will come to the Chamber, talk to people like Charles Wood. Charles wants to know what the city and the county can do to help, where there are sites, places that we own, what the situation is on incentives. And so Mayor Coppinger and I have to make sure that we're on the same page so that we can get these deals done, and certainly it's a pleasure to work with him. And as we transition from Ron, who's just been an absolute pleasure, has worked hard every day, to Bill, it just reminds me of the things that Senator Corker has talked to me about in the past, and that is that the way that we get things done in Chattanooga is for all of us to work together. And that even as the people change, and new people come into these positions, whether it's different mayors or different chamber presidents, different individuals who are leaders in the community, we follow that tradition of how we get things done as a community. That's why I think that each and every day I get the chance to tell this amazing story of all the great things that are happening here. You may have read recently about our unemployment, the lowest level of unemployment in more than 6 years. Or the fact that we're at the lowest rate of foreclosure in more than 9 years, which means that even people who are at the lower levels of our economic spectrum are doing a little bit better. And that's even before our announcement of Volkswagen and the 2,000 jobs it brings directly, the thousands of indirect jobs, and particularly now the influx that we're going to see of high quality, talented engineers in research, planning, and development. We know that we have tremendous assets here. We have the fastest, cheapest, most pervasive internet in the Western Hemisphere. We also know that we have tremendous natural assets like our mountains and our rivers, the things that bring people here every day to hand glide or go down our river, but also the things that make people want to stay here, put their business here, or move something here for a new day. It's really important that we figure out the ways to solve all of our community issues. Here in the city, we know that our streets are too dangerous. We're tackling that problem every day, and thus far this year, we've seen our shootings down roughly 20% year to date. We also know that Mayor Coppinger feels strongly about education, and that in the past, the city has basically said, that's a county system and we don't have anything to do with it. But now in our youth and family development centers, we have more than 2,000 kids who are doing 45 minutes of reading a week. And that's really helping supplement what goes on in our schools. It's tackling each and every one of these problems that leads to our long-term success. I want to thank all the people here who work on this, from Senator Corker at the federal level, Congressman Fleischman at the federal level, and particularly the city council people that were mentioned earlier. Chairman Chip Henderson, Councilman Chris Anderson, Councilman Larry Groen, Councilman Yusuf Hakim, Councilman Jerry Smith, Councilman Ken Smith. We work together with people like Ron and now Mike at the Chamber to figure out how we tackle and address all these issues, because we have done a lot. You're hearing it right now about our innovation district and the things that we're working on. But here's what I want everybody in this room to understand. We've done a lot of great things. We get publicity all around the world, but we are not done. There's still so many things that we can do, and what gets me excited and going to work every day is the chance to continue to address these issues and to figure out more of what's going on. The Enterprise Center is working with entrepreneurs each and every day about exciting new ideas. We're seeing how to capitalize on Volkswagen's investment in our city, not only with these new jobs, but also with a welcome center downtown and a $900 million investment. We've seen 5,741 jobs created in our city since April of last year, and there's more good stuff to come. We know that we are building the greatest mid-sized city in America, and it takes all of us to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mayors. So we had an extremely full program today, but we're very fortunate that our Congressman Chuck Fleischman was in town, and I said to him, why don't you come up and say hello to everybody before we get to the main event. So Chuck, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, and wow, what a wonderful day. Mayor Burke, Mayor Coppinger, Senator Corker, it's a pleasure to be with you all. Ron, I want to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, I serve in the United States House of Representatives, and the House is a very special place. Our founding fathers gave us a great United States Senate. They gave us a great House, and the people of this country, this great country, re-elect the House every 2 years in 2-year cycles. And I want to thank you for the privilege of a lifetime to serve in the House of Representatives. But Ron Haar and I would speak on a regular basis. Now, as I've tried to say throughout this most interesting campaign that I've been through, that not all issues out there are partisan and political. Really, most of them are not. They deal with governing the greatest nation that the world has ever seen. And sometimes we have tough votes. Bob has to take them, and I have to take them, and I go about that in a very interesting way. Many times I will call Ron, and I will say, Ron, I want to know how your members feel about this, because I truly and fervently believe that businessmen and women get it right. Practical solutions to complex problems. And that's what we face in America today. So many times I would call him and he would reach out to the members, and I just want to thank you personally for that, because you made my job a lot easier with those tough votes. Thank you, sir. To Bill Kilbride, I don't know where you are. I certainly look forward to working with you. I was chiding him a little bit earlier. He and I have spent a little time on Long Island. He's a Yankee fan and I'm a Met fan, but we'll get over that real quick. I'll be brief. Senator, it's a privilege to serve with you. And as you know, the problems in America today are staggering. But I want to let you all know that I fervently believe that Chattanooga is leading the way. I meet with presidents, prime ministers, leaders from all over this country, captains of industry. You mention the word Chattanooga, Tennessee, and their eyes light up. That's something that we can't take for granted. And I want to parlay on the words of Mayor Burke. We are not done, but ladies and gentlemen, we are literally the envy of the country and the envy of the world. What we are doing here in this great city is a model for all of us to follow. I just want to thank each and every one of you for the great privilege of having a small part in that. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Congressman. And it's true, he does call me, and it scares me to death every time I see his name come up on my cell phone. But it's a great thing that he does to ask, what is business thinking about my vote? And we appreciate that. And now for the main event. I am so honored, and it's my great privilege to get to introduce somebody who obviously needs no introduction in this town, but my good friend, Senator Bob Corker. Bob and I first met, many of you know this, back at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in 1973. Our hair was longer then, it had more color then, but there's a lot about Bob that has never changed, and I've always admired that about him. He had then and he has now a very clear focus about what he wants to accomplish and how he wants to do it. His energy has been amazing, and I think our community has benefited from that so many ways. So I could go through a long list of his accomplishments that you already know. But I will tell you this, from Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise to the 21st Century Waterfront, the original recruitment of Volkswagen, and many other things that Bob has done throughout his life for his hometown. No living person, in my opinion, has had a greater impact on the history of our city than our Senator Bob Corker. Welcome.
Ron, thank you for that introduction. And more importantly, thank you for the tremendous service to our community, being CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. Since you're leaving, I will tell people that I had an opportunity to see Ron do some things that I'm sure the Chamber did not sanction. Over the course, especially of the last 6 months, it took a lot of courage for Ron to get involved in some very ticklish issues that only myself, Todd Womack, and a few other people know that he did. Ron, you've been an outstanding leader. My wife, Elizabeth, is constantly wishing that I would pursue your same future, which is to slow down. But I am so glad that you were willing to take the time out of your business life to serve our community in this way, and I know it's a joint effort. And I do hope that everyone in this room will give you and Linda a warm round of applause for your significant service to our community. Hello? Michael, let me just tell you, I came in a job after Kenneth Cantor once. There was no way that I could display the same amount of humor he did, okay? So just be yourself, you'll do fine. Howard Levine is one of a kind. Embarrasses me like that constantly, will embarrass you on public occasions, but thank you for your willingness to serve in this way, and to Howard for his tremendous leadership as chairman. Bill Kilbride is a great find, and with him you get Mary, and I know that he's going to do it. He is that mix of personalities, both a people person but a business person. I'm so happy for our community that he's going to be doing what he's doing. Suzanne, thank you for that wonderful prayer. Jermaine, for sharing your outstanding talents with us. To Mayor Burke and to Mayor Coppinger, our community has flourished so much, having people like you that are willing to work together and sometimes not do it exactly the way that you would wish, but know that community's interest is to work together. Thank you for continuing the Chattanooga way. You make all of us very, very proud, and I'm so happy to have the opportunity to serve with you the way I do. To Chuck Fleshman, thank you for working so hard to represent this community and this district. The upper portions you did not know. I look forward to serving with you over the next couple of years, and as a point of personal privilege, I do want to thank my wife Elizabeth, who spends a lot of time at home, who doesn't come to a lot of public events, as most of you know, but for her willingness to sacrifice much to allow me to do what I do. Thank you. And to my mother, who's almost 86, who also took time out from folding winter clothes. I'm kidding you. To be here with us this evening. I want to thank you. It's wonderful, as you know, and to all the elected officials, let me just go to this that are here. There's nothing that I love more than serving at the local level. I think all of you know that. And to all of you who serve on the county commission, the city council, who serve on the school board, all of you as ambassadors, all of you who do the things that actually make the chamber work. I was telling Bill Kilbride, I've never seen so many councils in my life. And there's a lot of meetings, obviously, that he's going to have to attend. But what that means is the community fully is supporting the chamber efforts. And I'm glad that they are. Ron, the reason that we have so many people here this evening is because the chamber is producing results. And again, I want to thank you for that. I think most of you know I'm on recess. I was so glad that we were able to pick a time to actually be here and to be with you. I traveled Southeast Asia the first week during recess because of so much happening in the South China Sea. I traveled the state this last week. I'm getting ready to head up through East Tennessee right now, but I can assure you there's nothing that I like more than coming home. Lizzie and I ride the Riverwalk. We hike up the back of Lookout with our dogs. We love everything about this community, love going to the casual restaurants, love being a part of what's happening here. And every weekend that I'm not in the Middle East or some other place, I come home and love this community so much. And I love what's happened over the course of time. I think most of you know that I came to Chattanooga. My dad was transferred here from DuPont, and I came here in the early 60s. And I know I'm going down memory lane for some of the younger people here, but the fact is that our community was really dirty. And as a matter of fact, I remember when I would ride to school in the mornings going to City High School, we would turn the radio on to understand what the air index was. And I don't know if you remember, but businessmen in our community would actually take take an extra shirt to work so they could change about half day because of the air in our community. And so we accomplished that as a community. We solved that. But one of the problems that we had was our community had been the dynamo of Dixie. And we had been known for all the great manufacturing jobs that had come here, but somehow we had lost our luster. And as a young businessman, still single, in my early 30s, with a company that was rapidly growing and working around the country, I'll be honest, I began looking to open a branch office some other place where something was happening, if you want to know the truth. What our city needed was vision. I mean, that's what we were missing. We were a city without vision. And I think most of you remember that back in the middle 80s, we had something called Chattanooga Venture, and then we created Vision 2000, and things came out of that. The aquarium. Remember Jack Lupton, and think about what he had to risk to create that. And Claude and Dalton Roberts and Gene Roberts all worked on the Riverwalk. Again, my favorite aspect of Chattanooga. C&E. I think you remember people began acquiring that old bomb site, and it came into city and county ownership. Lizzie and I went over to Nashville with our family for a short stint, and I served as commissioner of finance. And look, it was exciting there. There were all kind of companies that were going from Main Street to Wall Street. It seemed like every idea that came out, Bill Creasy knows this, would go public, and it was an exciting place, but somehow I want to be part. I wanted to come back and be a part of what was happening in this wonderful community. And so I think you know that John Kinsey had done the South Side and gotten it going, and Claude Ramsey had worked on so much, and we began to work and create the 21st Century Waterfront and the The Outdoor Initiative and MetroNet, which became Gig City because of the great efforts of the Power Board and Public Art, and we're able to work with the community to build Enterprise South. And the Chamber during that era became the major recruitment entity of our city with Claude and everyone else's help. And then we had that great announcement in 2008. And let me just say to all of you now, it's a great privilege. It's a great privilege to do what I do each day. But the greatest moment of my public life, by far, hands down, was getting the call from the boardroom in Germany while I was in a hearing in Washington, and Volkswagen saying that they were coming to our community. As a matter of fact, I was so embarrassed because I was emotionally overwhelmed. I couldn't even speak. Had to hang up and call back. So we thank you for that. But why was that such a big deal? Because this community, as I mentioned, had been the dynamo of Dixie. We'd been a place where companies located, jobs were created, high-paying jobs, and somehow or another, because of the partnerships that existed here, and a company that wanted to be part, candidly, of a revitalizing community announced that they were coming. We knew immediately 2,500 people would be affected. And then in 2014, just again a month ago, 6 years to the day the earlier announcement had occurred, they came again. And to me, this was the culmination for our community, the exclamation point of a vision that had been created back in 1986. This was the exclamation point. And then Coca-Cola and McKee and Chatham, and so many of you, many of the people in the room are small businesses, and that, of course, is where 80% of the jobs have been created. So what's happened in this community, which is amazing, and it's the reason, as Chuck mentioned, and I've heard the mayors mention many times, the reason Chattanooga is the focus in the way that it is, because we even have young people that during their lifetimes have been able to see the evolution that has occurred in this community due to a lot of people's efforts. Which brings me to my day job. Which brings me to the nation. What I worry about today, that the nation as a whole is not experiencing the same kind of things that Chattanooga has experienced. It's just not. I worry about whether young people today will experience over their lifetime the great strides that so many of us have been able to experience here in Chattanooga. Like Chattanooga's had a transformation, I candidly believe our nation needs a revitalization. More than ever before, I think America needs a vision. I think, we've heard all kind of adages said about without vision, people this, without vision, this. What I've experienced in Washington, and I think many of you have experienced from far, is without vision, what happens is people bicker. Polarization occurs. The nation divides. We don't reach our potential. And I think what I hope is going to happen, and I know that we're back around at that same cycle that occurs every 4 years, what I hope is going to happen is that both parties are going to put forth nominees where there'll be a debate, and our nation will come together around whoever the winner is, that will come together around a vision that will unite our country. To do that, obviously, we're going to need strong leadership. We're going to need, as we have had in this community, a clearly defined vision, something that Americans can rally behind. What I hope we'll see is an America that rises to the challenges that we have. Instead of shying away, you see it all the time. We saw it this last month, and I'll refer to it in a minute, but instead of shying away from tough decisions that we all need to be made for our country, that will make those hard choices. It's an America that takes control of its fiscal future by paying down its debt and reforming spending. It's an America that understands, as we do in Tennessee, that if something is important enough to have, it's important enough to pay for. The vision I see in America today is one that not only encourages entrepreneurship, but it rewards it. It's one that, regardless of your background or economic class, it doesn't matter what that is. Rather, given the opportunity and tools, you can succeed. The same kind of spirit that we have in this community. It's one where a stay-at-home mom or dad can build a business from an idea that he or she has at the kitchen table and to develop that with applications to do something where they can basically do business around the world. It's the same one that allowed me when I was in my 20s to start my own construction company with my pickup truck and $8,000 in savings. It's a country that creates a more competitive tax system and a well-defined workforce so businesses will want to expand in this country instead of overseas. And we're seeing today what's happened with our system and how companies are finding it more advantageous to do it other places. And candidly, it's a vision where the world sees our strength, the strength in our ability to overcome the challenges before us. It's an America that is unwavering in defense of our values and reforms. And I'm going to digress for a minute. About a year and a half ago, I went to China, South Korea, and Japan. Each country had new leadership. And it was an appropriate time for me, as ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee, to go visit the new leadership. And while South Korea is very close to us, and while Japan has been one of our biggest allies in the region, I'm sad to say this to you, but when I was in China, what I felt as I met with leaders from all sectors there, they look at America today, they really do, as a nation in decline. A nation that doesn't have the ability to make the tough choices that any great nation needs to make. So let me just close with the vision, and that's one where my generation, finally, my generation makes the sacrifices and changes needed to leave behind a stronger and more prosperous America for future generations. That's the vision for America that I hope through this next process that we will develop and get behind. And I know there'll be other pieces, but let me just tell you the greatest threat to our nation today is one that I see often. I see it not only often, I see it perpetually. And the greatest threat to us, candidly, being a great nation today is something I call generational theft. I don't know of any way else of describing what is happening right now in Washington, what's happening to young people, is we constantly are involved in something that's nothing short of generational theft. Generational theft is when my generation and those who are participating in the electoral process basically decide that we're not going to make the tough choices that need to be made, and instead we're going to make ourselves all look good and ensure that future generations have to pay for our excesses because we've been unwilling to do that. Nothing's more vivid than this, than Medicare. And I know we have a lot of people my age in the room, as Howard embarrassed me by. I'll be 62 in a few days, and I'm part of a generation where 20 million more Americans are coming on the safety net programs that we have in our nation. One of those is Medicare. And let me just give you one stat. All of you are mostly oriented towards business, but the average American family today with two wage earners pays in over their lifetime into the Medicare program $122,000. And the average family today, and this is in today's dollars, it's all inflation adjusted, that same family today takes out of the Medicare program over their lifetime $387,000. Let me say this one more time. You're probably falling asleep at this point in my speech, but let me just be $122,000 is paid in for each two-head household working family. That includes the money the employer pays on your behalf. I think y'all know that's 50-50. $122,000 is paid in, and you take out, each of us will take out, on average, over our lifetime, $387,000. Now try to take that public. Try to do something with that. No business in America could survive that way. No city, no county. We know this. By the way, these stats come out each 6 months or so. And by the way, every time they come out, this is a bipartisan entity that keeps up with this, the numbers get further apart, not closer together. No greater example could exist than, candidly, what just happened on the Senate floor and, candidly, in the House during July. I call it Generational Theft Month. The reason is we have an election coming up. Everybody wants to look good back home. Y'all are very familiar with our highway program. is funded by a user fee. The user fee hasn't been raised since 1993, and so it's at 60%, 60% of the value that it was. So what did we do in July so politicians could come home, could come back and say, you know, I saved the highway program. For the 11th time since 2008, we had a short-term reauthorization. For the 5th time, we transferred money directly out of the general fund with some gimmickry that didn't pay for any of it. And so what we did again was throw our young people under the bus because your elected officials in Washington did not have the courage to say this has got to stop. I have never voted for one of those, and I'm never going to vote for one as long as I'm there, because we all know the solution. And by the way, as we do this, our highway contractors are not buying highway equipment. We're not even getting the benefit we would get out of a normal highway program. Instead, each year we try to make ourselves look good. The Veterans Program. Look, I love veterans as much as anybody in the room. I was just in the Philippines, where we have the largest cemetery off the American land that we have in the world. It's an amazing thing. None of you could walk through the setting that I walked through in the Philippines without becoming emotionally overwhelmed. When I'm in Iraq or Afghanistan, when I'm around our young military people, again, I have to keep myself from being emotionally overwhelmed when I see their greatness. They're incredible. So no one, I'll take a back seat to no one relative to veterans, but what did we do in Washington during this last month? We passed a bill that is one of the sorriest pieces of legislation I've ever seen. It's probably going to add $35 billion a year. $35 billion a year, ad infinitum, unpaid for, because the title of it was veterans. I was one of 3 senators to vote against it, and I've received a lot of complaints. But it seems to me that if we're going to do something for veterans, we should do it in a way that honors their sacrifice and their discipline. And we should ensure that whatever we do, we know we're not leaving the country in a weaker place than we found it. So look, let me close with this. Our nation is a great nation. And even though I could spend longer than the time allotted today to virtually give you a travelogue around the world, to talk about the problems that Todd and myself and others have seen firsthand, up close and personal, in Syria, where we know refugees in the camps in Jordan and Turkey, or to Iraq, where it's so disappointing to see what has happened there, and yet hopefully something can be done to unify the country and bring it back, or to Iran, where incredible negotiations are occurring, hoping that somehow they won't become a country armed with nuclear weapons, which would be incredibly destabilizing, or to Ukraine, where our policy of a day late and a dollar short has given tremendous momentum to the Russian people as they look at Putin, their leader, who's doing all these nationalistic things which make him popular, make them feel great, but because we didn't push it back early on, the genie's out of the bottle, and a much tougher issue evolves as we've encouraged them to go west, but in my opinion haven't supported enough what they're doing, or to the South China Sea, where I just came from, where China, candidly, is bulking up and expressing itself in a way that could create tremendous amounts of stability as they claim territorial waters that other countries have had for centuries. But I won't do that, because what I really want to do is I want to talk about the fact that the other thing that I see is the incredible impact our free enterprise system has had around the world. The thing that all of you hold dear, the thing that when Chuck calls Ron, I know each and every member of this group emphasizes, and that is, again, our great free enterprise system. I've been to places in Africa, throughout the world, but especially in Africa, where poverty is so great. And what I've seen is how they want to be like you. They want to be like Americans. And when you see women in little markets making beads or dresses, you know what they're doing is they're following the free enterprise system. And what we've seen is hundreds of millions of people have been lifted out of poverty as they try to emulate the very things that this Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce is pursuing. So I just want to say to each of you, we have a lot of challenges. Each generation has an opportunity to leave the next generation in a better place. And after 7.5 years of serving in the Senate, even though I come home after each session despondent about our inability to address the toughest issues, those fiscal issues, I still also come home as I'm around the people here in Chattanooga, and as I see that incredible can-do spirit, and as I see people at the cleaners or over at Green Life Grocery or other places, I'm uplifted. I really believe that most everyone in this room, and I believe the country ultimately soon will agree that all of us have been given a remarkable gift. And it's efforts like this, it's events like this event here at the Chattanooga Chamber, where so many people have come out actually congratulating our community on its outstanding efforts, that to me gives us great hope. So I want to thank you. I still think the best is yet to come. I still think that our generation will rise up and make those difficult choices that need to occur. I know that each of you is going to be involved in challenging those people who represent you to go ahead and do that and make sure that we leave a country better off than the way they found it. And while I've said to you that my greatest 4 years in life was being mayor of this city, and it really was, and I love so much being in business and still get perspiration on my upper lip when I hear about a great deal that's getting ready to happen, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the privilege of representing you in Washington. I want to thank you for allowing me to wake up each day while you're busy going to work or taking kids to school or going to soccer games, to, on your behalf, try to cause our country to go ahead and address these issues. It is an incredible privilege. I thank you also for the privilege of being here today. And let's make sure that, as we've done in Chattanooga, we figure out a way to create the same kind of vision for our nation. Thank you very much.
Senator, thank you so much for being with us. And how appropriate. This is the way we feel about you and your leadership. So, what do you get Bob Corker as a gift? So we thought long and hard about this, and we're very honored to present you with a photograph of the event in July where Volkswagen announced their expansion. A beautiful picture by Lawson Whitaker with you in the background there, and we thought you might like to have that in your home or in your office. And then on a personal level, here's a photograph of me at the podium with you behind me. I've always wanted this moment, but at that same event.
Well, I do want to say that I see Lawson often. Is he here today? Yeah, Lawson, where are you? He's got a beard now. He's very creative. I see him at Green Life Grocery, and I'm glad he's doing something that he loves doing. I will cherish this. And Ron, just for what it's worth, I've been telling Elizabeth for months that I've been wanting a photo with you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, these events don't happen without you all buying tickets and sponsoring it and being here. And I'm always amazed when I look out and across this sea of faces. This is what makes Chattanooga work. So thanks to each of you. Sorry we ran a little over today. We actually knew we would. And Jed told me we'd be through about 10 minutes after 1, and he is amazing. So here we are. Got a couple quick announcements I want to remind you of. It wouldn't be a chamber event if I didn't say, when you pull out your technology to turn your phone back on, please mark your calendar for our open house on September 18th. These have become a big chamber tradition with lots of people and lots of fun. And then our Spirit of Innovation luncheon will be on November 12th. So please mark those down. We want anyone who received an award today to please come up front so we can take your picture. Thanks to all of you, and thank you for making Chattanooga the greatest mid-sized city in America.